Hi, I'm Eric Lanask with TMC. We're here in New York at Cloud Expo East, and I'm talking with Cirba's Andrew Hillier. Andrew, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, nice to meet you.
So, what have you been seeing lately in terms of adoption of cloud? What are businesses doing in terms of building their own clouds?
Well, what we're seeing is, of course, internal clouds are becoming very popular. We see a lot of organizations setting up teams to build or integrate their own cloud. OpenStack seems to be coming up a lot, so it seems to be very prevalent. And we see that they're making good progress, but they're starting to hit challenges around, I would call it the intelligence of the cloud, around the decision making in that cloud. They focus a lot on the self-service provisioning aspects and getting VMs spun up very quickly, but there's less of a focus on where they should be starting. And so we're starting to see attention turn to that and analyzing the placements of the VMs and making sure that they're in a place that's compliant and efficient.
So last year when we spoke, you focused a lot on the control aspect. What's happened in the past 9 to 12 months as far as that?
Well, we've really progressed the control aspect. So you can see the control console behind me here. We would have talked about this last year. It's really a visualization of all the efficiency and risk in an IT environment, in a virtual or cloud environment. You can see if you have spare capacity that's wasting money or things that are operating at a high risk. And the idea is you get all the dots into the green and you're running okay. And you'll save a lot of money and you'll be much more efficient. We've really moved that forward in the last year. We've added the ability to do software licensing control from within that, so you can also compress down the footprint of licensed software to save a lot of money. We've added storage to the control console, so we've really moved that forward in the ability to drive up efficiency and drive down risk. But the big thing we focused on, and we announced this week, is our new API. So we now have Web Services API, so you can interact with this control analysis and say, Cirba, where do we put this new workload? We have a user asking for a new VM or a new cloud instance. Where do we start it? East Coast, West Coast? Does it go on that host, that host? So now we can leverage all these analytics and just answer the question very rapidly, saying, you want to start a VM? This is where you start it. And even more importantly, if you don't want to start it right now, tell us when and we'll reserve the capacity for it. So it's really quite interesting because what that does is it makes any cloud request console a hotel reservation system. It actually adds this future aspect to all the cloud operation, which we see is very important in our enterprise customers.
So it sounds like that increases the overall end-to-end efficiency of that cloud development and cloud rollout.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first challenge we see in these teams is they just need to build a cloud. So this greatly accelerates the development process because you can call this API as a Web Services API and get that whole piece out of the way. So you can start then moving forward on getting the cloud up and running. When it is running, of course, it does operate much better, lower risk, much higher efficiency. So there's these downstream impact of we see almost 50% increase in density of these environments when there's proper analytics figuring out where things go. So you have the advantage up front of getting your cloud running faster, and then in the long run it runs a lot more efficiently and saves a lot of money.
Are you able to interact with folks, with what people are doing out in the public cloud arena as well? I'm hearing a lot about hybrid scenarios.
Yeah, so that's part of the analytics. So part of what our analysis will do is say that if we have these internal workloads, and you can actually do it through a drag and drop right on this console, you can say take these workloads and put them out in external cloud. And we have modeled in all the major cloud providers. So you can say, what if I move it out? What if I move it back in? So the control console really controls your internal capacity and helps you route within internal cloud environments, but it also analyzes and says, those things for a little while, let's put them outside, and then we'll bring them back. So we see hybrid is a big topic. A lot of organizations aren't really far along on that path yet. They're the big enterprises we work with are still focused on internal, but with the strategy to go hybrid. So they want to build the plumbing in to go hybrid, even if they're not doing it quite yet. So we see that coming, although it's still a little bit early from what we see.
Should enterprises be concerned about what the NSA is doing with regards to surveillance, with regards to their PRISM program, and looking into data, and as far as what does that mean for their adoption of cloud?
Well, that's a very interesting topic. So security is one of the biggest fears we see out there. If you have your workloads in your four walls, you can control that much better than if you put it somewhere else. And it may be big efficiency gains, but for some organizations, the data is everything. And the problem is, even if you have ironclad contracts around protection of data, that doesn't help you if there's a data breach. You can sue someone all you want, but the problem is the data's out. So we see a lot of fear around that even though it might be financially advantageous to move out and there's all these benefits, there's that little bit of risk that lingers there. So of course, non-critical or low business impact workloads can go out more easily than the core ones. I think it'll be quite some time before you see someone shipping their core data off to an external cloud provider. Now, of course, if it has more of an outsourcing model, we see it all the time in outsource models where there is a very high trust relationship. So there's kind of a spectrum between outsourcing and pure public cloud that it'll probably, we'll eventually see it all get there, but it may not be as dynamic as a pure public cloud would be. It's going to be a little more controlled.
Should there be increased transparency with regards to what may or may not be happening with data that's out in different cloud networks?
Yeah, I think everybody would argue, yes, there should be transparency. I think it's, obviously it's a very delicate balance because there's certain protections that are, required, and I think everybody wants to make sure there's safety in society, but at the same time, it's always a bit of a shocker when you figure out what's happening with the data. So I think definitely transparency is important, but I think it lingers out there all the time, and you can never manage 100% of the risk. It's just how much is tolerable for you to put up with.
Great, Andrew, thanks for joining me again this morning. I'm Eric Linask with TMC here at Cloud Expo. Be sure to check out all of our Cloud Expo coverage in the TMC Video Newsroom.